The claim is that for the past decade, Russia has been deploying a weapon of directed energy against lower-level American bureaucrats, causing a range of symptoms, including ringing in the ears all the way up to cognitive issues. It's called Havana syndrome because the symptoms were first reported back in 2016 by U.S. and Canadian embassy staff in, well, Havana, Cuba. CBS News did a 60-minute special on it this past Sunday. Here's a clip.
Are we being attacked?
My personal opinion, yes.
By whom?
Russia.
Greg Ed Green ran the investigation for the Defense Intelligence Agency. He would not discuss classified information, but he described his team's work from 2021 to 2023.
We were collecting a large body of data ranging from signals intelligence, human intelligence, open source reporting, anything regarding the internet, travel records, financial records, you name it. Unfortunately, I can't get into specifics based on the classification, but I can tell you at a very early stage, I started to focus on Moscow.
So we can't get into specifics or provide evidence. We just have to trust him about his hidden research. And I'm not saying that the Russians are angels, not by a long shot, but I do have some serious reservations about what the national security state is trying to get me to believe for their own ends, which has nothing to do with my best interest. Independent journalist and friend of the show, Jordan Schachtel, pointed out that the man in that clip runs a business in D.C. which represents government bureaucrats as clients if they claim to have been zapped by the Russian ray gun, an obvious conflict of interest. Schachtel also explains that the Havana Act of 2021 gives out an untaxed lump sum payment of 1 year's salary to any government official with a proven neurological injury that they can try and pin on the Russians. Aside from the financial incentive, there is also the political incentive. Schachtel further argues, quote, "This opens up a Pandora's box of further questions. Why isn't Moscow using this weapon against Zelensky? Why is there no evidence of Russia using these devices on any real kinetic battlefields, such as Ukraine, Syria, etc.? Are we to believe that American intelligence officers are such prized, irreplaceable resources that an entire Kremlin program, which could have so many applications elsewhere, is solely directed at them?" As the great journalist Hans Mohnke noted on X, it's also important to scrutinize the individual current and former government agents who claim to be suffering from Havana syndrome. Here are some that definitely stick out. Mark Polymeropoulos, who retired from the CIA in 2019, is currently an MSNBC contributor. He was one of the many former government agents who claimed that Hunter Biden's laptop was a Russian disinformation operation. Miles Taylor, who wrote the infamous anonymous anti-Trump letter, has made a career of leveraging his government credentials to write best-selling Trump-bashing fan fiction. Olivia Troy, a former advisor to VP Mike Pence, has followed a similar path to Mr. Taylor, using her former credentials to land lucrative gigs in the corporate media machine. Mark Lindsay, who waged a campaign to get social media to censor critics, falsely accused several people of running Russian-controlled accounts, end quote. Joining us now to discuss is Dr. J. Michael Waller, a senior analyst for strategy at the Center for Security Policy. Dr. Waller, thanks for being back tonight.
Hey, Kara, good to see you again.
Great. So we've been hearing a lot about this Havana syndrome, and I personally don't know what to make of it, except for that the biggest purveyors of it right now are some of the very same people I know not to trust, but also it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Russians to be doing this. So what are your thoughts here?
It could be anything. Certainly the Russians would develop such weapons. It makes sense to do it. It makes sense to target it at American officials without suffering any kind of retaliation. But you really can't trust our own intelligence community anymore because of what we've seen over the past nearly a decade, where they've been surfacing false narratives and lying to us to interfere in our own domestic politics. And now you have somebody who's in the business of representing clients who are supposedly victimized by this, just throws another, variable in where you just don't know what to think anymore.
I know, and that leaves us in such a bad place right now, especially when, the global politics, everything is so topsy-turvy right now. You'd like to be able to have some little piece of land where you can be like, okay, we can all agree here, and then let's go out into this topsy-turvy world. But right now, even the ground right at home is shifting under our feet. And perhaps, some of these guys on the 60 Minutes program, I'm sure there were nuggets of truth that they have found with the Russians and the rest, but I fear that a lot of them then embellish and they make it perhaps something bigger and grander than it currently is, because again, they're trying to get more Ukraine funding passed. They're trying to get Americans to care, once again about sending more resources to Ukraine. So I feel like the timing is a little suspicious.